You picture Neanderthals the way cartoons taught you to. Hunched, grunting, dim-witted brutes, wiped out because smarter humans simply outcompeted them. It's a good story. It's also almost entirely wrong, and so is the ending you've been told. Neanderthals didn't lose because they were less intelligent. The real answer is far stranger. In many of the ways that matter, they weren't losing to us at all. They were slowly disappearing into us. Think about what you actually know about Neanderthals. Probably something vague about cavemen, low foreheads, and a species too primitive to survive contact with modern humans. That's not just incomplete, it's mostly backward. To understand what really happened, you have to stop picturing a battle and start picturing something closer to a slow merger that most people never learn about. Neanderthals lived across Europe and parts of Asia for roughly 400,000 years, surviving multiple ice ages, hunting massive animals with close-range weapons, and controlling fire long before many assume. Paleoanthropologist Dean Falk, who has spent decades studying Neanderthal brain endocasts, found that their brains weren't smaller than ours. In several measurements, they were actually slightly larger, shaped differently, with more area devoted to vision and body control, less to some regions linked with complex social cognition. Different, not deficient. A brain built by a different environment for a different set of problems. Here's where the popular story starts breaking down. For decades, scientists assumed Neanderthals lacked symbolic thought, language, and culture. Then evidence kept surfacing that didn't fit. Neanderthal sites in Spain contain cave paintings dated to over 60,000 years ago, created before modern humans are known to have arrived in that region. Neanderthal burial sites show bodies deliberately positioned, sometimes with flowers or tools included, suggesting ritual and possibly belief in something beyond the physical. Archaeologist João Zilhão, who has spent much of his career excavating Neanderthal sites across Europe, argues that the evidence increasingly points to a species capable of symbolic behavior, personal ornamentation using shells and pigments, and complex planning, all traits once considered uniquely human. So if Neanderthals weren't obviously less intelligent and weren't simply crushed in some prehistoric war, what actually happened? The genetic evidence gives the clearest clue, and it's the part most people never hear. When modern humans expanded out of Africa and encountered Neanderthal populations already living across Eurasia, the two groups didn't just compete. They interbred repeatedly across thousands of years and multiple regions. Geneticist Svante Pääbo, who won the Nobel Prize for sequencing the Neanderthal genome, discovered that nearly every person with non-African ancestry today carries somewhere between 1 and 4% Neanderthal DNA. That's not a trace contaminant. That's a direct genetic inheritance passed down through tens of thousands of generations, still active in your immune system, your skin, and even how some people process pain today. Think about what that actually implies. Neanderthals didn't vanish the way a defeated army vanishes. Large portions of their genetic lineage were absorbed directly into the expanding modern human population. In a very real sense, if you have European, Asian, or indigenous American ancestry, a small part of what makes you biologically you is Neanderthal. But absorption alone doesn't explain the full picture, because Neanderthal populations were already small and fragile before modern humans arrived in large numbers. Paleogeneticist Kay Proofer, analyzing Neanderthal genomes for signs of population health, found troubling evidence of long-term inbreeding, low genetic diversity, and small, scattered group sizes, sometimes numbering only in the dozens per settlement. A species already stretched thin by isolation and small population size is far more vulnerable to any additional pressure, whether climate shifts, disease, or competition for the same limited resources. This is where climate becomes critical. The period during which Neanderthals disappeared, roughly 40,000 years ago, coincided with a series of dramatic climate fluctuations across Europe, rapid warming and cooling cycles that reshaped entire ecosystems within single human lifetimes. Neanderthal populations, already small and specialized for stable, cold-adapted environments, would have struggled to adjust quickly enough, while modern human populations, arriving with broader social networks and possibly more flexible technology and clothing, may have simply weathered the volatility better. Ask yourself what this actually means when you put all three threads together. Not war, not stupidity. A small, genetically stressed population living through violent climate swings, encountering a larger, more networked incoming population with substantial interbreeding along every point of contact. Extinction, in this framing, looks less like a battle Neanderthals lost and more like a slow demographic and genetic dissolution that modern humans simply outlasted, partly by absorbing what came before them. This is the part that should genuinely unsettle you. The species you were taught to picture as an evolutionary dead end isn't fully gone. It's distributed in fragments across billions of living humans today, quietly present in genes tied to immunity, skin, and even sleep patterns. Neanderthals didn't lose the way a rival loses. They dissolved into the very population that's often credited with replacing them. So the next time you picture a hunched, primitive caveman standing at the edge of extinction, remember that the story is stranger and closer than that image suggests. It was never really about one species defeating another. It was about a smaller, more fragile population meeting a larger one during a moment of extreme environmental stress and quietly becoming part of it, one shared child, one shared gene, one shared winter at a time.